Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to do a deep dive on something I know is hitting everybody's wallets pretty hard lately. We're talking about the price of eggs in the U.S. We got some new data from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and let me tell you, the numbers are pretty crazy. In February 2025, the average price for a dozen grade O large eggs hit $5.897. I mean, that's a huge difference from just a few months ago.
Yeah, it's a real jump for sure. Back in October, we were looking at $3.370. Then in November, it ticked up to 3.649 cents. December hit 4.146 cents. And January broke the $5 mark at 4.953.
Wow, so steady climb and then bam, February just blows the roof off. What's going on here? What is fueling this egg explosion?
Well, it's kind of like a good omelet. There are a few ingredients at play here.
Mm.
One of the biggest culprits is the avian flu outbreak. It's been
Mhm.
really decimating poultry flocks. And we're not just talking about a few chickens here and there. The USDA estimates nearly 58 million birds have been affected since the start of this outbreak.
58 million. Wow, that's a lot of birds. No wonder these prices are taking off. But is that the whole story? I feel like we're always hearing about supply chain issues these days too. Are those scrambled as well?
Yeah, for sure. Supply chains are definitely adding fuel to the fire. You can think of it like this. Even if farms that haven't been affected by the avian flu are ramping up production, getting those eggs from the coop to your local supermarket is a huge logistical puzzle, and it's facing delays at every turn, from trucking shortages to processing plant backlogs, and all of those costs get passed down the line, and they eventually land right on your grocery receipt.
Okay, that makes sense. But avian flu and supply chains are not exactly new problems. So have they just gotten that much worse, or is there something else that we're missing here?
Yeah, there's another layer to all this, something that people don't really talk about that much, is the price of wool producing an egg. Just feed costs alone have jumped over 20% this past year, mostly because of the rising price of corn and soybeans. And it's not just the feed. Energy costs for heating chicken houses, transportation, you name it, it's all more expensive.
So it sounds like we got the perfect storm brewing here. Fewer chickens are laying eggs. The eggs that are laid are costing more to produce. And it's way more expensive to get them to market. I guess it's no wonder we're all shelling out so much more. So what does this mean for the average egg lover? Is this just a temporary blip? Or are we looking at scrambled finances for the foreseeable future?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And unfortunately, there's no easy yoke.
Okay, so we're in this eggflation spiral. But is there any light at the end of the carton here? Will prices ever come back down? Or are we stuck paying an arm and a leg for our omelets?
Well, trying to predict the future of egg prices is kind of like trying to figure out what came first, the chicken or the egg. There are just too many variables.
Yeah.
But I guess we could look at a few potential scenarios.
All right, well, lay it on me. Best case, worst case, and everything in between.
Okay, well, let's start with the optimistic view. If this particular strain of avian flu is contained and farms can repopulate their flocks quickly, we could see supply levels start to rebound in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, that's good news for the chickens, at least. But what about all those other factors we talked about? The feed costs and energy and the whole mess with the supply chain. Will those just magically fix themselves too?
Well, not magically, no. But there are some potential changes happening. The USDA is looking into ways to help support farmers, including maybe some subsidies to help offset rising input costs. And as far as energy goes, as renewable energy sources become more common, that could help stabilize energy prices in the long run.
Okay, so there are some glimmers of hope on the production side of things. But what about us, the consumers? Are we just supposed to grin and bear it while our grocery bills go through the roof?
Well, I mean, you could always embrace the tofu scramble, but really there are some things that consumers can do to deal with this expensive egg situation.
Oh, all right, give me the insider tips. I'm all ears.
Okay, well, first you should think about changing up your protein sources. Beans, lentils, nuts.
Okay.
There are plenty of other delicious and affordable options out there. You might even find some new favorites.
Yeah, actually, I've been meaning to try those black bean burgers I keep hearing about.
Exactly. And also make sure to look out for sales and discounts. A lot of stores are offering loyalty programs or special promotions to help shoppers with rising food prices.
All right, so shop smart and be open to new foods. I got it. But let's be honest, sometimes you just need an egg. So is there anything we can do to push for more long-term solutions? I mean, besides just changing our individual choices.
Oh, absolutely. One thing that really needs more attention is investing in things that can prevent these outbreaks from happening in the first place. So that means supporting research into avian flu vaccines and making biosecurity protocols on poultry farms even better and creating stronger breeding programs.
So we need to treat the root of the problem, not just the symptoms.
Exactly. And another important piece is making the supply chain more transparent and resilient. So this could mean things like getting our food from more diverse sources and strengthening our regional food systems and investing in new technology that can track and distribute food more efficiently.
Wow, it sounds like we need a whole system overhaul here. We need to address everything from the chicken coop to the checkout line. But what do you think, listener? What's the most important piece of this egg puzzle to you? Are you feeling the pinch in your own household? Or have you found some clever ways to adapt?
Yeah, we'd love to hear your perspective.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We have.
From avian flu outbreaks to supply chain problems to the rising cost of everything. It's pretty clear that a lot goes into getting that egg from the farm to our refrigerators.
It really is. It's a great example of how these events that seem totally separate can actually have a huge impact. They ripple through these big complex systems and they affect everything. Our grocery bills, the global economy, the whole thing.
It really makes you realize that something as simple as the price of eggs can tell us a lot about these big trends that are happening. Things like globalization, climate change, food security. It's all connected.
That's exactly right. This deep dive into egg prices has really been a deep dive into how our modern food systems work.
So as we wrap up today, I want to zoom out a bit and talk about the bigger picture. What are the key takeaways that you hope our listeners will remember from today?
Well, I think the most important thing is to remember that we're all a part of this huge interconnected system. What we do as consumers, the choices that businesses make, the policies our governments put in place, it all plays a role in shaping where our food comes from in the future.
So even though these global problems can feel overwhelming, what you're saying is that we actually have more power than we think.
Exactly. If we stay informed and talk about these issues and support initiatives that are working to create more sustainable and resilient food systems, well, we can all make a difference together.
That's a really important message. So to everyone listening out there, as you crack open your next omelet or maybe whip up that tofu scramble, take a second to think about the journey that those eggs took to get to your plate.
And remember that the choices you make at the grocery store, the conversations you have around the dinner table, even the actions you take in your own community, they can all help build a fairer and more sustainable food future for everybody.
We're all in this together, folks. Thanks for joining us on this excellent deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds sharp and those appetites curious.